the cold steel of the gun pressed against my temple like a lover's final kiss. And Victor's voice, smooth as aged whiskey, cruel as shattered glass, whispered, "You were always too idealistic, Gemma. Art doesn't pay for empires." The shot echoed through the empty loft like thunder in a tin can. And as my blood sprayed across the keys of my Steinway, I saw it all. The compositions I'd poured my soul into, stolen note by note, the affair I'd buried deep to protect us both, the child I'd never told him about, lost in that instant. But death was just the universe's sick punchline, yanking me back through the veil, slamming me into my 25-year-old body on a sticky July morning in 2018, 5 years before the trigger pulled. My hands trembling over a blank score sheet in my cramped Brooklyn apartment, the betrayal's blueprint etched in my brain like a tattoo I couldn't scrub off. I gasped awake on that sagging futon, the kind that smelled like stale coffee and unfulfilled dreams, my heart jackhammering against ribs that were whole again. The calendar on the wall read July 15th, 2018, Goddead. The day before I was supposed to meet Lila at that dive bar in Williamsburg. The night she'd discover me, the up-and-coming pianist with fire in her fingers and stars in her eyes. Lila. My best friend. My collaborator. The serpent who'd coil around my life and squeeze until my music and my breath were hers. In that first life, she'd charmed her way into my world with promises of gigs and glory, only to photocopy my originals while I slept off hangovers, then accuse me of plagiarism when the checks cleared. Victor Hale, the silver-tongued venture capitalist she'd hooked like a marlin, bankrolled the lie, turning my symphonies into their soundtrack for Manhattan penthouses and Hamptons escapes. And when I confronted them in that loft, high on righteous fury and the remnants of a pregnancy test I'd hidden in my purse, Victor pulled the trigger, staging it as my tragic artist suicide. The headlines called it Prodigy Plunges, Plagiarism Scandal Ends in Despair. Bastards. But not this time. This time, I was the goddamn rewriter. I crumpled that blank score sheet, my fingers nimble, unscarred, itching for keys that would play a different tune. No Lila. No Victor. I'd ghost through their world, a shadow with a Steinway, building my empire from the underground clubs of Bushwick to the private soirees of the 1%ers. Revenge wasn't a scream, it was a crescendo, slow burn and symphonic, the kind that left them applauding their own ruin. I started small, busking in Washington Square Park under the alias G. Noir, veiling my face with oversized sunglasses and a fedora that screamed noir novel reject. Tips poured in, not just cash, but whispers from agents who'd heard the buzz. By fall, I was gigging at jazz dens in the village, my originals disguised as covers, hooks that lodged in ears like fishbones. I avoided mirrors at first. The face staring back was mine, but sharper, haunted, like I'd aged a decade in dog years. Word spread. A booking agent named Marco, greasy hair, gold chain. The works slid into my DMs after a set at Smalls. Kid, you've got that haunted vibe. Rich folks eat it up. Ever play private? I met him at a diner off Bleecker, nursing black coffee while he scrolled his phone. Look, there's this whale in the Hamptons. Victor Hale. Tech money. Old soul. Wife left him 6 months back. Messy divorce. NDAs thicker than my mama's lasagna. He's holed up, throwing these intimate nights. Piano only. You in, Victor Hale. The name hit like a rogue wave, but I kept my poker face, stirring sugar I didn't need. In my first life, He'd been the knight in Armani, funding Lila's label that buried me. Now,
Grieving?
the irony was thicker than the humidity. "What's the set?" I asked, voice steady as a metronome. Marco grinned. "Whatever moves him. He's got a thing for lost loves, ballads, torch songs. Pays 10 grand for 3 hours.
Cash.
10 grand. Enough to fund my next sabotage. Anonymous leaks to music blogs about stolen scores, circling the industry like sharks. I took the gig. Not for the money, for the key. It was March 2023 now. 5 years compressed into a revenge-fueled blur. I'd clawed my way up without them. Self-released EPs on Bandcamp. Viral TikToks of me improvising over city noise. A cult following that called me the Phantom Pianist. Lila? I'd watched from afar. Her Instagram a shrine to mediocrity, rehashes of my motifs. Rebranded as hers. Propped up by Victor's cash until their affair imploded. Whispers said she'd bolted to LA. With half his portfolio, he'd retreated to his seaside pile. A modern-day Howard Hughes with a vinyl obsession. "Grieving," Marco said. "Good. Let him marinate in the void I'd carve wider." The drive to the Hamptons was a gauntlet of spring rain and Waze reroutes. My rented Prius slicing through Long Island's manicured sprawl like a scalpel. I wore a simple black sheath, elegant, unassuming, the kind that let fingers fly without fuss, and packed my Roland Digital in the trunk. Though Victor's invite specified his vintage, Bosendorfer waited. Nerves? Hell yes. This wasn't just a gig, it was infiltration. The overture to their finale. I'd prepped a set, my originals woven with theirs. Subtle Easter eggs, a dissonant chord from the symphony they'd swiped. A melody fragment from the lullaby I'd written for the baby I'd never hold. Play it cool, Gemma. You're the ghost now. Let him feel the chill before the storm. The estate loomed like a Gatsby fever dream, glass walls bleeding into dunes. Infinity pool glowing turquoise against the Atlantic's black churn. A butler, stiff as a starched collar, ushered me through French doors to the library. A cavern of walnut shelves and leather-bound first editions, lit by a fire that crackled like suppressed laughter. Sheet music littered the Persian rug, scribbled margins screaming insomnia. And there, in an armchair that swallowed him whole, sat Victor Hale. Older than I remembered, mid-40s now. Silver threading his temples. Jaw shadowed with neglect, but unmistakable. Those hawkish blue eyes. The ones that had locked on mine across smoky lounges in another life. He nursed a tumbler of something amber, staring at the piano like it held answers to prayers long abandoned. MS. Noir. His voice was gravel over silk, rising as I approached. I nodded, setting my clutch on the bench, avoiding his gaze. Up close, grief clung to him like cheap cologne, hollow cheeks. A wedding band twisted off-kilter on his finger. No ring.
Then. G. Noir.
Pleasure. He extended a hand, and when our palms met, electricity arced. Recognition?
No.
Impossible. This timeline's Gemma had never crossed his path. I'd steered clear, a phantom in the machine. The music, he said, sinking back. It's all I have left. Play what you feel. Make it hurt. Hurt.
Oh.
I'd make it lacerate. I slid onto the bench. The Bosendorfer's ivories cool under my touch. A far cry from the blood-slick keys of memory. The first piece was neutral, a cover of Summertime, sultry and slow. Notes unfurling like smoke from a hidden cigarette. He sipped, eyes half-lidded. But I caught the flicker, the way his grip tightened when I improvised a bridge, echoing a phrase from my stolen concerto. Second movement, an original, echoes in E B minor, all minor keys and unresolved tension, the rain pattering the windows like impatient fingers. His breath hitched, the tumbler paused midair. By the third, a torch song I'd titled Betrayer's Waltz, waltz time masking a dirge, he was leaning forward. Firelight carving shadows that danced like accusations.
You're
Extraordinary, he murmured during a breath, voice thick. Where have you been hiding? Hiding. The word twisted in my gut. I could have ended it then, launched into the incriminating medley, watched his empire crack like eggshell. But revenge is patient, a slow poison. Shadows, I replied, my first words to him in this life, laced with the accent of forgotten burrows. We all have them. His laugh was bitter, a cough wrapped in regret. Mine's a woman. Ghost of one.
anyway.
Brilliant. Broken. I let her slip away worse. I pushed. Stole her fire to warm my own hands.
Stole.
The word hung, a noose in the air. My fingers faltered on a trill, recovering into the crescendo. He didn't know. Couldn't. But as the final chord decayed, silence fell heavier than the rain. And his eyes, those damn eyes, locked on mine, searching, seeing something. We broke for intermission. Or what passed for one in Victor Hale's mausoleum of regrets. He waved off the butler, no refreshments. No small talk, just vanished into the stacks, leaving me alone with the dying fire and a piano that hummed like it knew my secrets. I flexed my hands, knuckles whitening against the urge to smash the fallboard, to scream the truth into the void. I'm not your ghost,
Victor.
I'm the corpse you buried.
But no.
That was Lila's play, impulsive,
Sloppy.
Mine was surgical, a scalpel through sinew. I'd leak the docs tomorrow, digitized originals from my cloud backups, timestamps screaming theft, funneled to a blogger with a grudge against pay-to-play indies. Let the blogs feast, let Lila's LA facade crumble while Victor watched from his tower. He returned with a bottle, vintage scotch, the kind that cost more than my first car, and 2 glasses, settling on the bench beside me like we were old collaborators. Too close. His cologne, sandalwood and salt, wormed into my defenses, stirring ghosts of hotel rooms and hurried confessions. In that other life, we'd stolen weekends in the Berkshires. His funding veiled as patronage, my naivety a shield against the red flags. Tell me about your shadows, he said, pouring, the liquid glugging like a confession. I accepted the glass, props for the role, sipping fire that burned less than memory. Long story. I hedged, American nonchalance masking the blade. Began with a betrayal. Friend, closest thing I had, took what was mine. Music.
Dreams.
Left me for dead. His pour faltered, scotch sloshing the rim. Jesus. That's. He trailed off, eyes tracing my face like sheet music, note by note. Recognition flickered again. Deeper this time. A spark to tinder. You remind me of her.
Gemma.
God. What a name. Gem like a jewel. Hard and rare. Pianist.
2. We.
Collaborated.
Once.
She had this way of making the keys weep.
Weep.
The word clawed at me, my grip crushing the glass's stem. Collaborated. Euphemism for exploitation. For nights where I'd play drafts and he'd nod, all while funneling copies to Lila's safe. Sounds intense, I murmured, setting the drink aside, fingers itching back to the keys. What happened to her? Victor drained his glass, Adam's apple bobbing like a man swallowing nails.
She died.
5 years ago. Almost to the day. Apparent suicide, but he rubbed his jaw, stubble rasping. I knew better. We had history, messy, the kind that leaves scars. She was carrying my kid.
Didn't tell me till the end.
Accused me of stealing her soul.
Her sound.
I laughed it off, stupid, prideful shit. Next morning, the cops at my door. Bullet to the head. Loft in Soho. They ruled it self-inflicted. But her eyes. He shuddered. Fire popping like gunfire. Haunted. Like she came back to finish the song. The room tilted. My pulse a timpani in my ears. He knew. Not knew, suspected. In this timeline, without my presence, the threads had unraveled differently. Lila, unchecked, had pushed him harder, their partnership fracturing under greed's weight. Whispers I'd planted, anonymous tips to his lawyers about embezzlement, had forced her flight, leaving Victor adrift, piecing together the puzzle of a woman he'd half-loved, half-destroyed.
And now,
here I was, G.
Noir.
The doppelganger with the dead woman's fire. The ghost he'd conjured in Scotch-fueled seances, hiring pianists who echoed her style, chasing redemption in minor keys. Controversial? Hell, it was a minefield. Part of me, the vengeful wraith, wanted to lean in, whisper it's me, you bastard,
and watch him shatter.
But the other part, the one that remembered his touch in stolen moments, the one that mourned the child we'd lost, it hesitated. Forgiveness was a luxury corpses couldn't afford. But what if truth was the real revenge? Play for her, he said, voice raw, sliding off the bench to reclaim his armchair. For Gemma. Something that says, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
The word was a lit fuse. I nodded, throat tight, launching into the second act without pause. This set was the knife's edge, lullaby for the lost, the piece I'd composed in secret for our unborn. All gentle arpeggios masking an undercurrent of rage. His eyes glistened as the melody swelled, rain lashing the panes like applause from the damned. Midway, I wove in the hook, the plagiarized motif from their hit single, twisted into dissonance. A musical middle finger. Victor bolted upright, glass tumbling, scotch pooling like blood on the rug. Where did you? That's hers. Gemma's. His face was a mask-cracking shock.
Awe.
Terror. I didn't stop. Fingers flying. Building to the revelation chorus, where the notes spelled it out in code. Lilastole. If you knew to listen. The final cadence landed like a gavel. Silence devouring the room. He staggered forward, hands outstretched, not touching but hovering, as if I might dissolve. Who are you? A laugh bubbled up, bitter as bile, mine, laced with the absurdity of second chances. Your ghost. Victor. The one you killed. His knees buckled, collapsing to the rug amid the sheet music, face ashen as dunes at dawn. Gemma?
No.
God. No, it's impossible.
But it was.
I rose, towering over him for the first time. The power shift electric. 5 years ago. In your timeline. Maybe. but I came back.
Rewound.
To fix what you broke. Tears carved tracks through his stubble. A man unmade. I didn't pull the trigger. Lila, she forged the docks. Planted the gun. I covered for her because she had photos.
Us.
The affair. Said it'd ruin me. The kid a scandal. I let her walk away with everything. Your music. Your life. I thought you were gone forever. The confessions spilled like the scotch. Sordid details I'd half suspected. Lila's blackmail. Victor's complicity born of fear. Not malice. Controversial? Understatement. In my first life, I'd idolized him as the savior. Now, he was the enabler, a coward in bespoke suits. But the child, our child, tugged at the frayed edges of hate. Why hire me? I demanded. Voice steel. Chasing absolution from strangers? He looked up. Eyes shattered sapphire. The dreams. Every night. You at that piano. Playing the lullaby. Accusing. I started seeking. Echoes. Pianists with your touch. This gig? It was desperation. A seance in ivory and ebony. Desperation. The word echoed my own rebirth. That cosmic crapshoot. I could have walked, called the cops from the driveway. Let the leaks do their work. But revenge, pure and hot, felt hollow against his brokenness. What if I burned it all? Only to wake emptier? Instead, I knelt, our faces inches apart, the fire's heat mirroring the storm in my chest. Prove it, I whispered. Help me end her. The real thief. His nod was fervent, a pact sealed in shadows. We talked till dawn cracked the horizon, plans. Not vengeance blind but calculated, lawsuits seeded with evidence I'd hoarded. Media hits framing Lila as the fraud. Controversial decisions loomed. Expose the affair publicly? Risk my ghost status shattering into tabloid fodder? Leak the pregnancy? Turn grief into weaponized sympathy? As the rain eased to mist, Victor's hand brushed mine. Tentative. Electric. Stay, he murmured. Rewrite it with me. Temptation coiled. Serpent sweet. But trust was a luxury I'd buried with my first death. Dawn painted the library in reluctant gold, turning Victor's wreckage into something almost redeemable, rumpled tucks. Eyes red-rimmed, but alight with purpose. We'd mapped it out over cold coffee and reheated takeout from the butler's hidden stash. Phase 1. The sting. I'd slip back to the city. Activate the leaks, my originals, time-stamped and notarized, emailed to every indie outlet from Pitchfork to that scrappy zine in Queens. Victor would discover the discrepancies in his own archives. Play the outraged patron, tipping off his lawyers to sue Lila for fraud. No guns, no blood, just the American dream's dark underbelly. Litigation as blood sport. Reputations shredded on X threads and TMZ scrolls. But the controversies? They gnawed like dissonant chords. Exposing our affair meant dredging up the pregnancy. Painting me as the jilted ingenue. Him the cad who funded theft for a quick lay. And the child, naming it publicly, that was dynamite. Turning personal loss into spectacle. Hashtags like Stolen Symphony Baby trending while trolls dissected my suicide note autopsy. You're sure? Victor asked, pacing the rug. Phone already buzzing with pre-dawn alerts. I'd crashed in a guest room upstairs, plush as a cloud. But sleep was a stranger, chased off by what-ifs.
Now.
In the harsh morning light, he looked less haunted tycoon. More man adrift, shirt untucked, hair tousled like a boy caught in a lie. We could just vanish. You and me. New names. New city. Let Lila rot in obscurity. Tempting. A second chance at us. Untainted by bodies and bullets. But revenge wasn't a duet, it was solo. Fierce and unforgiving. No, I said, zipping my clutch. The weight of my Roland slung over one shoulder like armor. She took everything. We take it back, public.
Permanent.
Or, I'm gone for good. His flinch was visceral. A mirror to my own doubts. Controversial? Hell. Allying with my killer felt like mainlining hypocrisy. But power plays weren't clean. They were jazz, improvised.
Raw.
Occasionally flat. Back in Brooklyn by noon. The city a humid slap after the Hamptons chill. I hold up in my walk-up. Fingers flying over laptop keys faster than piano rolls. The email blast went out at 2 p.m. Sharp. Subject line. The theft behind the hits. Original score surface. Attachments. Scans of my 2018 notebooks. Watermarked with dates predating Lila's debut album by months. CC'd. Every journalist who'd ever sniffed around payola scandals. Plus Victor's attorney. A shark named Kessler who'd once repped Taylor in a ghostwriting beef. By 3. Pings erupted. Reporters circling. Victor texting. It's live. She's scrambling. Lila's response was vintage venom, a frantic IG story. Tear-streaked selfie, denying it all. Calling it bitter ex-employee sabotage. Ex-employee?
Bitch.
I was the composer. The internet ignited. Gemmagate trending. X-threads dissecting the motifs. Classical nerds on Reddit mapping the plagiarism like crime scene photos. Victor played his part flawlessly, a heartbroken statement to Variety. If these claims hold, it's a tragedy for true artists like the late Gemma Harlow, whose talent I was honored to support.
Late.
The word stung, even in victory. I poured a glass of cheap Merlot, sinking onto the fire escape as sirens wailed below. The skyline a jagged promise. My phone lit up not Victor, but an unknown Lila. We need to talk.
Coffee.
Neutral ground. Trap or desperation's Hail Mary. Either way. Climax called. I agreed. Tompkins Square. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Neutral as New York's underbelly got. Sleep evaded again. Dreams splicing timelines. Victor's hand on the trigger morphing to his palm, cupping my belly. The child's heartbeat a phantom rhythm. What was I building here? Justice. Or just another cage of grudges? She arrived late. All LA. Gloss, yoga pants, oversized shades. Hair in that effortless wave that screamed extensions. Tompkins buzzed with dog walkers and dealers. The park's chess table's ironic backdrop to our endgame. Gemma, she hissed, sliding onto the bench. Voice a blade wrapped in silk. Or whatever you're calling yourself now. Cute stunt. But Victor? Him? After everything? No denial. Just deflection. Classic Lila. Gaslight queen. I leaned back. Sunglasses mirroring her snarl. Everything? Like stealing my life's work? Framing me for your hacks? Or was it the part where your boyfriend put a bullet in my skull? Her laugh was shards, drawing stares from a nearby jogger.
Please.
Victor's the patsy. I did it for us, you were tanking.
Gem.
Too pure. Too broke. I fixed it. The money. The fame? That was supposed to be ours.
Ours.
The lie curdled. But under it, A sliver of truth. Our dorm room dreams. Shared smokes and scores. Before ambition turned her feral. We sparred verbal jabs, her accusing me of playing dead for drama, me dropping Kessler's subpoena like a mic. But the real twist uncoiled when she leaned in. Breath minty with malice. You think Victor's clean?
He knew about the baby.
Begged me to handle it quietly. Said it'd ruin his board seat. Some merger bullshit. I covered for him, not the other way around. The world narrowed to her smirk, pulse thundering like a bass drum. Victor, coerced? Or complicit to the core? Controversial decision loomed. The kind that split souls. Trust the devil you resurrected. Or burn the bridge with hellfire. I stood. Voice ice. Game over. Lila. See you in court. Her parting shot. Flung over shoulder. Ask him about the merger docs. Page 47. You'll wish you'd stayed buried. Back at the loft. Victor waited, uninvited. Take-out bags from our old haunt in hand. Face a question mark. Heard from her. Casual. But his eyes betrayed the bluff. I didn't soften the blow. Shoving my phone with Lila's text under his nose. Page 47.
Spill.
He deflated, sinking to the futon. The same one I'd woken on post-rebirth. The merger. It was life or death for Hale Ventures. Lila threatened exposure. The affair. The kid. I signed off on a clause burying liabilities, including contingencies. She handled the rest. I thought it was bluff. Woke to the call. Contingencies. Euphemism for murder.
Signed in corporate ink.
Rage boiled. Hot and holy, not just betrayal, but bureaucracy's cold complicity. I grabbed my coat, storming for the door. We're done. I end this alone. But he blocked me. Hands gentle on my arms. The touch a tether. Gemma.
Wait.
The clause? I voided it last year. After she left. Donated the whole division to music nonprofits in your name. Anonymous.
It was.
Atonement. Proof tumbled from his briefcase. Papers. Headlines about Hale's quiet pivot to arts funding. Controversial? Atonement bought with blood money. Yet real as the ink. The twist hit like a coda. Revenge had resurrected us both. Ghosts dancing in the ruins. Lila's trial would come. Fraud. Extortion. Maybe manslaughter if Kessler dug deep. But our ending? Not tragic solo, but a duet. Flawed and fierce. Months blurred, depositions in marble lobbies. Lila's empire evaporating in settlements. Victor's hand steady in mine through paparazzi flashes. We didn't vanish. We rebuilt a foundation for stolen artists. My fingers on keys that healed. His funding clean this time. The child? We mourned in private. A plaque in the studio. For the unplayed lullaby.
Happy?
In America's jagged rhythm, scandals fading to footnotes. Love a hard-won encore, as close as ghosts get.